Hello, everyone. Welcome back to room 3. We have Anayo in a conversation with the CodeHS Inspire Fellows. We're super excited for this one. I hope you've been having a great day. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. Feel free to use the chat in the Q&A throughout this session. This should be a pretty collaborative discussion, and we're very excited. Yeah, we'll kick off in just a minute. Okay, Anayo, I think our participant count has kind of leveled off here. Yeah, I will be here to support the chat and the Q&A, but Anayo, one of our senior CSMs here at CodeHS, is going to lead our session, so go for it.
Excellent. Thank you for the intro, Lucas. It's great to meet all of our teachers that are here today. My name is Anayo. I'm a senior customer success manager here at CodeHS. And our session for today is about meeting our Inspire Fellows. So I will talk about who they are, what we've been doing in our program, and you'll get to hear from the Inspire Fellows about the amazing work they've been doing in their classrooms. Again, feel free to use the Q&A, the chat. We want it to be very interactive and collaborative and hear from other educators as well. So in our agenda, we will go over a brief history of the Inspire Fellowship, quick introductions of everybody that's involved. We have a panel style discussion, and then we will open it up to the audience for Q&A. So the CodeHS Inspire Fellowship was founded in the year 2020, and our main mission is to support Black, Latino, and Native American students in their pursuits of studying computer science. When you look at the data, these groups are very underrepresented in CS, and we know that CS is for everybody. And with this program, we were reached out to by educators who were interested in figuring out how they could use CodeHS, how they could use CS to kind of level the playing field and give their students these opportunities. And so we have our fellows on the meeting today, and everybody is working on an independent project, so using CodeHS in various ways to accomplish that mission. So yes, a little bit of history. 2020 was the first year that we ran the fellowship with a cohort number 1, and they excelled and even extended the program and came up with the idea of not just using CodeHS Pro with their students, but facilitating these independent projects, all very creative and unique in their own way to expand their impact. And so we are working with our second group of fellows who are on the call today that we will get to meet. But again, the CodeHS mission statement is to empower all students to meaningfully impact the future. And that is what they are working toward. And those are just some images from our past fellows and some of what they've been able to accomplish with their students. If you are a reader of our Read Write Code blog, you may have seen some of these stories, but these are the previous cohort of Inspire Fellows talking about how they use CodeHS in their classrooms to serve Black, Latino, and Native American students and really make an impact and inspire them to make change in whatever they were passionate about through computer science. So. All right, so we have the 2022-2023 Inspire Fellows here with us today. Everybody has an introduction slide, so I will pass it over to them to kind of just talk about who they are, what they've been doing, and all that you'll need to know about them. So we have 5 fellows this year. Unfortunately, Leon is ill today and won't be able to make it, but you will get to hear from Marianne, Matthew, Shanika, and Soraya. So really excited for all of our teachers in the session today to learn about them and talk and collaborate and learn what everyone's doing in their classroom to serve students. So with that, I will go ahead and pass it over to Marianne.
And I unmuted. Yay, success. This has been a fun year. This is my last year of teaching, and it's the first time this will be the first time I haven't worked since I was about 16. So it's a little terrifying, but I have spent 30 years in industry, and then I've taught for the last 18. I've taught computer science for the last 5. I believe with any topic, and this comes up a lot in math, it comes up some with computer science, but I haven't noticed it as much, where people go, I'm just not any good at it. Well, you are if someone will explain it to you in a way you understand. And if they can't, then you need to find somebody else to explain it. I love using the kids. In CodeHS is very good about this, the way the code is set up, to use the kids to help their other students, because when you explain it, you learn it better. I have been working with all of my classes on doing a PowerPoint of minority people in computer science, whether they're female, Hispanic, Black, Native American, and we have created PowerPoints that we have then shown in the cafeteria where everybody hangs out in the morning. I know when I was growing up, we used to do stuff like this in math all the time, that you needed to know the mathematicians to understand the math. Well, they were mostly European men. And the good news is, because of the internet, it is so easy to find people that are very much one of a kind doing something with computer science. So, anything else?
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing, Marianne. And I'm very excited for you to be able to retire and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Several years in the classroom. So we thank you for all that you've done helping students.
You know, everybody says that, but when you've worked, I'm 71. So when you've worked since you were 15, who am I if I don't work? And that's what I'm going to find out next year.
You're Marianne, and it's going to go great.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm excited for you. All right, so the next fellow we have is Matthew Ernst. So I'll pass to Matthew.
Okay, so I have a career tech teaching background, lots of years in IT, and the AP program is launched in our district, and they really wanted someone with a career tech IT background to teach this course, and step forward to do that. And it's been a fun year. It's been a very learning year. I thought I knew technology until I got into computer science. So that part of tech really wasn't familiar with, and it's been a learning process the whole year. So I actually moved into the classroom about 5 years ago, made the transition from IT support for the district into the classroom, and been flying drones as well, and been doing all that. And I finally get my dream. I'm having my drone course for next year also. So be doing computer science and drones. So that'll be, I'm really looking forward to next year already. So that's pretty much it. I'm pretty much a workaholic. Attend webinars on Saturdays. What more can I say? So that's been it.
Well, thank you for sharing, Matthew. And I'm really excited to hear about how that drone class goes next year. That sounds really fun.
Yeah, we already have funding. Already got funding from my principal that we're going to have drone soccer for next year, which is becoming a very important part of esports. We're trying to get in on the esports side of things. So I'm looking forward to that. We already got some ideas in mind how we're going to run that for next year. So
very nice. All right, so the next fellow we have is Shanika.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shanika Bridges Matthew. I am an engineering and technology teacher at Arabian Mountain High School Academy of Engineering and Medicine. So we are a magnet school, but we're also what we call a pathway or school choice. So our students have to apply to come to our school, even though it is a public school. So everybody, whether they're magnet or pathway, does have to put in the application, whether it's the student or the parent or whoever, and then they're selected through a lottery. I have been teaching for 15 years in DeKalb County. And prior to that, I worked in corporate America and also worked for myself. I consider myself a teacherpreneur because I own several businesses, but they're all connected to education. Everything always leads back to education in some type of way, whether it's travel or real estate or whatever. I'm always going to connect it back to education. And I think that's why I chose to have the theme of code confidence, because even though I teach engineering and technology, a lot of my students are left brain, so they only think in systems. They don't think. A lot of them don't think outside of the box as far as, oh, what can use this thing that I'm creating and make a lot of money with it, and instead of just working for a company. So that is kind of what we express with our goal for coding this year. We did a lot of different projects, which we'll probably discuss a little bit later on. I don't want to go into much detail, but a lot of different things. We do about 50 competitions a year. We just did one yesterday, which we won. And that would involve coding. So we're really excited and thankful for the opportunity to be working with Code High School.
Thank you, as we are to be working with you.
Thank you.
And then the last fellow we have in our session today is going to be Soraya. So I'll pass it to her.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Anayo. Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to be here on a Saturday. It's a little cloudy in New York City. Anyway, so I'm Soraya. I work at WA Cunningham. It's a middle school in South Brooklyn. I have been an algebra teacher, algebra 1 teacher, teaching the very, very brightest children, very motivated students for a very long time. And this year I've had the pleasure of teaching students with very, very significant learning disabilities. So I've gone to the other end of the spectrum. My semester started out being very challenging because this is a group of students that I'm normally not paired up with. So I'm not used to kids not getting things, and there were a lot of kids not getting it. So it's taught me patience and I guess different strategies, how to approach teaching all over again. So I felt like I was a brand new teacher in the classroom after 23 years. Thank God for CodeHS. I have found that a lot of students with significant learning disabilities really gravitated to the Tracy Coding with Tracy program, where they were able to be autonomous in a task that they were sort of in the driver's seat for. And they were able to follow the directions by themselves. They didn't need another teacher to sort of hover over them. I teach with a second teacher in the classroom. And I have to say that that level of independence for me was eye-opening, because all of a sudden they were running with something that was challenging, was demanding, was rewarding at the end, and it was all they're doing. And they didn't need 2 teachers to hover over them to manage, if they needed anything. So it was, it's definitely going to be a population of students that I am more interested in learning from and working with, and seeing how coding or experiences like this can be really channeled to students that are underrepresented. I think in a lot of these ICT settings or these 12-to-1 settings, where students are significantly cognitively delayed, there's a lot of opportunities that just don't go their way. It could be teachers are just afraid of it. I did pitch it. I pitched CodeHS to one of these 12-to-1 special ed teacher, and her initial reaction was, my kids can't do that. And I'm thinking, we haven't done it yet. Let's try. What's it going to hurt? And I think that that's going to be my challenge for next year, is really, after listening to Tammy and being inspired by Tammy in that last sort of session we had, that's our job. Our job is to really get in there and sell it as hard and as furious, so that kids can really have an opportunity at it, especially kids that usually don't have a voice in advocating for saying, I think I want to try this. And I think the middle school level is ideal especially because, you really want to plant the seed early and you want them to think that this could be a career for you. This is possible. And just because you have a certain, disability, it should never be a limiting factor. It should be your superhero power kind of thing. And I think we really have to change the way we're looking at those types of classes and where we as educators are delivering. So thank you, CodeHS, because you totally changed my entire teaching philosophy about who can really be computer scientists in the future. So thanks for changing my mindset.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing, Soraya. And yes, anybody and everybody who wants to be a computer scientist can. So glad to hear the students have been successful and have an interest sparked now. All right, so moving forward in the presentation, we have a couple of roundtable discussion questions. Again, the goal is for all the teachers present to just leave with some actionable advice or insights into similar things they may be struggling with in their classroom. And something we want to do is take a look at the data. So why does something like the Inspire Fellowship exist? There are numbers to support this, that Black, Latino, Native American students, they might not even attend a school that offers computer science. So the fact that we even have it on the master schedule as something they can enroll in is a big step in itself. But with that fact, it just goes to show that these groups face social barriers to learning CS. And often it is what we call imposter syndrome. So they think that CS is only for a certain type of learner who comes from a certain type of background, lives a certain type of place, things like that. But like we discussed, CS is for everybody. And that's what we're going to talk about in some of our questions, is how we can help our students reframe that mindset. So yes, we want to take what people would traditionally consider problems and use them as gateways to creative solutions. So our first question, what strategies can teachers use to recruit students and build a diverse computer science classroom? Again, that's an issue in itself, just getting the class offered and making sure it is full. So we will go around the table to let people put in their 2 cents, but I think Matthew had some insights to share here specifically.
Okay, so what I've done this year is with the help of our guidance counselor at our high school and the help of a journalism teacher that we had at our high school, she was running her own journalism class, is we actually put together videos that we were playing throughout the high school when it came time for students to pick their classes for next year. Which was just recently. So with the help and let me tell you, my colleagues have just been awesome to deal with. And it has just made my job of recruiting easier because I didn't know who the top students were in the junior class that I could even talk to them. Myself personally, I had a tech club that I was doing after school. I had 10, 12 students attending that, and I recruited probably 6 of those students already. A few 8th graders that are going to be rising up to freshman year. So I was just like, I've already talked to them because of the way that they were acting. We did a little 6-week segment of coding, and they just took that and ran with it like you wouldn't believe, being 8th graders, and just like, what are you guys doing for next year? So for your courses. And so between after school activities and guidance counselors and colleague teachers, it has been, I'm pretty well set for next year. So we'll see what the following school year holds, but that's been my recruiting process.
Nice. And I'll add that for Matthew specifically, he is teaching an APCS class for the first time. And that's something we always like to reiterate at CodeHS is AP can be for everybody. We have APCSA, we have APCSP. So there's definitely an option if your students are interested in getting that college credit for a CS course. So awesome. Anyone want to add anything here?
I would. We're a STEM school and we have a robotics team, which is out of the engineering class. And most of my computer science kids are also in engineering. In fact, my top sophomore programmer programs the robot. So next year, the other school that had a robotics team has fizzled. So our school will host a robotics team for the entire county. So all 5 high schools. And the kids that are active in computer science are active in that, and word of mouth, you get more people because there's something just cool about a robot.
Definitely. And Marianne mentioned word of mouth. A lot of our teachers tell us that's a strategy in itself, sending current and former students to go recruit from the younger grade levels and get them interested. So.
And I get former kids to come in because we've had a lot of them. We have an APCSA and APCSP program and have for probably the last 6 or 7 years. So we've got kids at Georgia Tech. I had 2 go to MIT last year. So when we can get them to come back and talk about their college experiences, it means so much.
Definitely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I know at Arabia, I have a model. Of course, I have a very large Technology Student Association, TSA. We have about 500 students in our school that are a part of it, but active competition members is about 10%. So what I tell my students is to find somebody else like you. So find 2 people like you. So it's kind of like me coming from a sales background, and I've done that marketing. They always find, say, get that 2. That's 2 grow into other people. And that's kind of been a really good strategy for us in regards to bringing in, different students, the computers into computer science and engineering. Also, vertical alignment with feeder schools. Because we are accepting everybody from all over the county, we target schools that that we know we're going to get the greater percentage of students coming from. So that's about 5 schools that we target mainly to do a vertical alignment. Some of them have engineering or computer science teachers or programs, and some of them don't. But we try to at least, try to get out there or talk to other teachers in the building. And also we leverage social media and school websites. Anytime we have a win or do well at a competition or a conference, we're always sending some type of promotional information up to a website, to social media. We have a reporter and a historian on our, our students' executive board. So they post that on social media. We also have put stuff in the newspaper sometimes as well.
Nice. And I know with extracurriculars, especially, students definitely want to get involved when they see what successes the other kids are having. So perfect. So we will get into some talk about pedagogy, but culturally responsive teaching. The question is, how can I make computer science relevant to all of my students? Some feel like it's not for them and just don't have interest in the subject. A prime example I hear a lot is a teacher will tell me such and such student just kind of landed in this class somehow. So anybody that can give advice on kind of motivating and engaging students and making computer science relevant to their day-to-day.
Well, I don't know. I know with me, I always tell them, I always try to make connections about, like, you all use your phone constantly, like they're addicted. Most of them are addicted to their phones, and that's a computer. I worked in telecommunications prior to teaching. So I worked for Verizon Wireless and AT&T for some years. And, I always kind of related back to, how when I started in 1999, we didn't even fathom, the computer and the phone integrating. And so just, telling them about that, telling them about the Internet of Things, how everything pretty much is connected. And I always bring up the fact that, you probably have more wireless devices in your house than you have people. And just bringing that to, and also talking about AI, how that impacts what's going on. They deal with AI with Siri and Google and, all those things, that's going to help them to understand, like, this is pretty much my life in America.
Definitely. Any other thoughts here? Okay, well, we will keep moving through the discussion. So the next item we had to talk about was classroom culture. So every teacher has the opportunity to really take their classroom and make it their own. And as a former educator, I know different teachers are known for different things and different styles of teaching. So question for the panel is, what can teachers do to create safe spaces and facilitate creative, collaborative student learning environments? So if anybody has any notes to share about special traditions that they do in their classroom or anything that they implement every year that allows the students to really take ownership and kind of feel like they're a part of creating that culture as well, would love to hear about it.
One of the things that I know, because we're a STEM school, there's a certain set of courses they have to take. And the juniors take APCSA, and as seniors, they take intro and advanced cybersecurity. So I have the same group of kids for 3 classes in a row. Because they're STEM, they've been in so many classes together. I'll swear it's like a family. They've got their brothers and sisters, and they rag on each other just like a family. But they have been together for so long that if somebody says something that in a class where you didn't know each other, it might be borderline offensive, it isn't, because they're family. They may correct each other and say, well, you're stupid, bro, if you think that, and whatever, but they actually listen to each other and go off on, and are willing to talk about more sensitive subjects than a class that's brand new and the people don't know each other. So if you can keep the continuity, it's wonderful.
Yes, and I'll share a quick story. I was visiting some classrooms this week, and this is something a lot of districts and principals require now, is the very first thing you do at the start of the year. It's very suggested that you make your classroom agreements. So student to student, what do we promise to do and how do we promise to teach each other? Teacher to student, what's the relationship going to be? So just kind of setting those norms, I think, and verbally having those specified for students really helps them understand that the classroom is a safe space to learn. You're not going to know everything, and that's not the expectation, but as long as you learn and grow and leave with a new bit of knowledge every day, then we accomplished our goal.
I also tell the kids that I spent 16 years doing technical support for financial products. And I am very quick when I don't know something to say, I don't know, we'll look it up. And I say, if you don't know something, don't try to baffle people with baloney, because they're not going to buy it anyway. So we own up to what we don't know.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
I'm just going to add to that.
is a big thing that we can avoid. Go ahead, Soraya.
Okay, so I was going to say, as far as collaboration, because I have students of all different ability, when some students come forward and they voluntarily help or, assist somebody, who's struggling with the program, I mean, they are really celebrated, and it's a big deal. So, they do get that nice job. You really helped somebody else. So I think it's really important that kids realize that that computer science is not an isolationist type of program. It's something that you really want to foster collaboration, and that needs to be celebrated when kids do that.
Definitely celebrating every single win, whether it's one line of code written or 30 or 300. So
I know I throw my 2 cents worth in on that as well. is I always tell the kids coming from an IT support background is, if you don't know something, it's okay that you Google it. I mean, and it's constantly in my classroom. You don't know that piece of code? Hey, you have all the resources. That's what I try to give you right now. I give you all the resources. We can look something up on CodeHS. We can look it up. We find internet cheat sheets, whatever it takes to find what we can to try to get the problem resolved. So
definitely. And in terms of applying what students are learning in the classroom, I have a personal philosophy that for many of them, if we can make computer science very relevant to their day-to-day or even kind of problems they see in the world and want to solve, then that'll help increase interest even more. So the question is, in what ways are your students using what they've learned to positively impact their communities? And I will go back to Shanika because I know some of her students have some really good projects going with community organizations and are doing real world work. So would love to hear a little bit about that.
Oh, thank you. Yes, so there is a business and in the Stonecrest, Georgia area where our school is located called the New Black Wall Street Market. And it is pretty much was created, during COVID to increase Black business owners. And so there's different vendors, about close to 100 vendors there, Black owned vendors and things of that nature. So we developed a partnership with them. Our school is 99% Black. So we developed a partnership with them to help to increase the foot traffic there. So we use coding by, coming up with some app development. We did an app challenge in November to help with the Black Friday sales. We call it the Blackest Black Friday. And so we helped with that, and we were able to, generate some really good business coming in. We increased, we actually helped them with social media, and because the owner of the building is 70 years old. He's a former teacher, but he's 70 years old. So he doesn't know as much as most younger people about social media and apps and things like that. So we're helping. We're still actually helping them. We have 8 students working there right now. I think it's 8 or 10. I was just up in there in a meeting. So they're making some great progress for the new Black Wall Street Market in Stonecrest, Georgia.
Excellent. So tying computer science and just some other subjects to entrepreneurship and then getting real world work experience. So perfect. This is something I wanted to talk about. So our students are doing this great work in the classroom. They're learning how to code. The goal for a lot of school districts, if you look at their mission statement, it'll say something like, we want to produce productive 21st century citizens to be contributors to their community in positive ways, work, social, all of the above. So curious to know if any of the panelists want to share about what specifically you're doing in your classroom to give students that career exploration, talk to them about their plans after graduation, and just set them up for success for when they leave and get into the real world.
So I think I can start. So in Brooklyn, we have New York University. They have an engineering school downtown Brooklyn, and they offer a lot of programming classes for free for middle school kids just graduating out of middle school, and then obviously in September being freshmen, and that creates an awesome bridge. So that's the bridge that I've offered to my classes, that after having this experience with CodeHS, they can really go on and explore with PhD students at the School of Engineering over the summer. It's usually a 6 to 8 week internship, totally free, but it's top of the line, and you're working with cutting edge, information, all different aspects of, from managing roads or traffic or anything like that to other sort of real world sort of issues. So that's what I've offered to them. They seem to, a number of them have already taken the lead and have already applied. So they have their summers already filled. So I think that's partnering up with another school, that's senior to you, definitely will help.
And I'll go to Marianne. I know you have several acceptances every year to very prestigious universities. So do you think there is something in particular that makes your students so successful? Does your campus start kind of talking about college early in 9th grade year and kind of set the expectation this is something they should be thinking about?
We do. I start talking to the freshmen. I talk about Georgia Tech a lot because that's where my younger daughter went. It is the goal. I teach a lot of engineering nerds. I'm sorry. They want to go to an engineering school. I get that. So we talk about that. I went to Vanderbilt. My father went to Rice, and I talk about that it isn't so much the school as you can get a good education at a really poor school and a bad education at a really good school. It comes down to you. But if you want these really good schools, this is what you have to do to get there. And I talk about my grandfather, my dad's father, who had a third grade education and was an ignorant bigot. My dad wanted to go to college. He graduated from Rice at 19. So we talk about education. We talk about it being important. A lot of these kids, they'll be the first one to go. So we talk about that as well, about building your community so that you have people to have your back. And the fact that they, by the time they're seniors, have been together for 4 years for so many of these classes, they have built their community. Now, the high school my daughter went to had a whole course for the seniors on building a community, and I wish we had something like that. But I talked to the kids, particularly the ones that I think will be at risk in college, to make sure they understand you can build your family anywhere. You find the people who are interested in what you're interested in. High school will be the last time you're with a bunch of people for the sole reason that you were all born the same year. So you get to go out and find the people who are interested in what you're interested in, even if they're 20 years older. But build your family so that you have somebody to lean on, because high school and college are not the same thing.
Definitely. And something I love for the students now is, even though some may not think a traditional four-year degree is for them, they have a lot of options now. So I'll go to Matthew. I know certifications are a big focus at your school. So do you mind talking a little bit
I
about
want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
I love my husband dearly. He is my bad example that I use every year. He dropped out of college with 1 semester to go. He finished up in college when he was 41, I think, after we had our first child. And I say, just because you don't do it immediately doesn't mean you can't go and get one. He has a master's degree at this point. It just took him a long time to finish that 4-year degree. So.
Very fair. And in addition to our education, certifications are something we can explore too. So Matthew, when you first brought about that idea, was your admin very on board with it? Did you have to convince them a little bit that this is something the school should focus on?
No, because it's kind of been the push across the entire district. Of the 16 high schools that we have in the district, 95% of it is Black. We're a big urban district. So a lot of these kids is just like, I'll never make it to college, but, I want to come out of high school, I need a job. And this is a way to do that. So we've really pushed that across the entire district. So everybody is behind it, and I get a lot of support from administration. And, but with being at Aiken High School, a lot of those kids do go beyond and make it to college. So for some of them, they're not the first ones. And we have a partnership with Miami University out of Oxford, Ohio. They have a Miami Teach program that comes into Aiken. So the kids spend a lot of time at Miami, and they have a computer science program. I probably have 8 seniors that are headed that way. And I try to push them all into some kind of tech degree, tech program up there. That's where the jobs are. If you've paid any attention to where Ohio's heading with all the data and the chip manufacturing, and a lot of tech is coming into Ohio. And so there's going to be a lot of jobs for these students beyond high school. We've had kids come back just with certifications, and they've talked to the high schoolers, and so they can see that it does work. Getting that internship, and when they're juniors or seniors, and then going out, getting that certification and going to work right past graduation. So it does work. And so we try to bring those kids back and say, this is what it happened to me, and it can work for you.
I would like to chime in as well. We do a lot. I mean, we do a lot of field trips. They call us me the field trip queen, I guess. Thank God, I'm supported with that. But we have a partnership with this company called Crane Nuclear. They have, I don't know if you know this, but there's 90 different nuclear power plants in the United States, about 400 around the world. Crane Nuclear trains students. They have a valve institute, and so they train students on how to maintenance valves and things like that. Since we are engineering and pathway, we have partnerships with CyberStart America as well as Cold High School. The kids get scholarships if they hit a certain range. With that, we have 29 students qualified. We're $3,000+ in scholarships over the summer to get certified in that. We're just really, and again, the partnership that we have with New Black Wall Street, Microsoft, we just took kids to Microsoft yesterday. They won a challenge there. So we're constantly doing things to show them, especially with software. You don't really need a degree in software. You just need to understand the different coding languages, that you can make money, good money outside of college. Is great. We want you to go to college. I have 4 degrees, but if you want to start working, you don't have to wait till you're out of school.
Definitely love that the students have these opportunities now. And again, it's something they start talking about as early as elementary, middle school. So I know they will have tons of opportunities in the future, especially with great educators like y'all leading them. All right, so we are 40 minutes past the hour. We did have a couple more questions and some time for audience Q&A. We will leave the room open for a little bit if you just want to maybe chat with a couple of the Inspire Fellows for a little bit. But hope everybody watching, if you're not already active on CodeHS, please get signed up to do so. And again, to our Inspire Fellows panelists, thank you so much for coming today. Really appreciate you sharing your time and hope that everybody is leaving with something great from the session.
Thank you,
Thanks
Anayo,
so
for
much,
everything
Anayo.
you did.